Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and every year Apple comes out with a new line of phones and then gets rid of some of the other ones. And their lineup has become kind of confusing because there's a lot of different phones available. And so I wanted to help you decide which one would be right for you in 2021. And here I have every single phone that they offer new on Apple.com or in the Apple Store today. There are other phones, of course, but this is what they sell. The others are not sold through Apple anymore. And so we have the iPhone SE second generation, which comes in 3 colors, which we have product red here, and then there's also a white and black. With the iPhone XR, we get more colors, and as you can see here, this is also the product red, but it's a slightly different shade than the SE, and it comes in other colors as well, along with the iPhone 11, which is one of the more colorful phones, and this one is the green color, but there's others available as well. Then we have this year's iPhones, the iPhone 12 mini, which comes in quite a few colors as well. This is the color black, and they have others, as you can see here. And then also the iPhone 12. And the iPhone 12 is very colorful, has the exact same color availability as the iPhone 12 mini. And then the iPhone 12 Pro, which this is the new Pacific blue color, and then the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And again, they come in multiple colors, 4 different colors for the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. And so each year, Apple has a new set of phones with some new features, but some of the older phones do pretty well against the newer ones. So I'm going to compare quite a few other things as well, including cameras and speed. And the first thing is how they're built. Now, all of them are glass front and back, and you can see there's slight differences with the Pro models having a frosted back, where everything else has a glossy back. So they have glass front and back. They all support wireless charging, but they have different camera layouts as well as different build materials. So the iPhone SE, the iPhone XR, and the iPhone 11, as well as the iPhone 12 mini and 12 are all aluminum with glass front and back. However, the iPhone 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max have stainless steel on the outside edge instead of aluminum. So there's a slightly different finish on them. And they have, you can see here, one is more shiny, the stainless steel, and then you have the aluminum, which is more of a matte finish. And so they're different materials and they're different weights as well. So obviously the smaller phones will be lighter, but as you get up to the stainless steel, they're much heavier. So there's a different weight. And if that's a concern, of course, you would want to stick with the lighter phones, or if you don't mind, you can go with the larger ones. Now, out of all these phones, they're similar in the sense that they all have a way to unlock them that's secure, but the iPhone SE is the only one with TouchID. And currently, it's an easy way to unlock your phone. As we go like that, we've had it for years, and the phone unlocks. However, there is no other larger phone that's currently available from Apple that actually has Touch ID. So you'll have to use Face ID on all of the rest of the phones. So this is your only option that's new. Now there's the iPhone 8 Plus, which was the last big Touch ID phone that's available, but that's what you have as far as unlocking. Now, as far as price, of course, there's some very big differences between this. We go all the way from $399 at the starting price all the way to $1,449 at the very top, fully loaded top storage option device of the 12 Pro Max. So there's a huge variety in between. And basically every year, Apple ratchets down the price by $100 on the iPhone 11, since that's no longer new, for example. So they've brought it down $100 compared to the previous year. Now, of course, as you can see, every one of them has a different size display. We have everything from the larger bezels on the iPhone SE with 4.7 inches up to 6.7 inches on the 12 Pro Max. So there's a size display for each one of you, depending on which works best for you and what will fit in your pocket. So they're all decent displays that way, and they all have decent resolutions. In fact, all of them are over 300 pixels per inch, despite many people saying that the iPhone XR and the iPhone 11 have subpar displays. I wouldn't agree with that at all. The colors are very accurate. The viewing angles are very good. And you do have a little bit of maybe blurriness around the corner, depending on who you ask, but that's because the pixels actually change size to make this corner on an LCD. Most people won't see this, especially if you have a case. You won't really see anything at all. Most people can't see it with their eyes, despite what they think, but you will get much better, deeper blacks with, say, the iPhone 12 series phones that have OLED displays. They're deeper blacks because they're shutting off the pixels, and they're brighter as well, so they're very good that way. But other than that, you will see much deeper blacks on the OLED display or the Super Retina XDR display of the iPhone 12 series phones. You'll have deep blacks and very vibrant colors. However, with the LCDs, they have an advantage. And I know not a lot of people mention this, but it's something that affects me personally, and that's called PWM. The way Apple controls the display brightness, and every other manufacturer of OLED displays actually blinks the screen faster and slower to give you brighter or less bright screens. So you can't physically see this with your eyes, but it can cause eye strain and cause people to get headaches and not really want to use the phone, or even cause them to feel nauseated or dizzy at times. So these phones, the OLED display or Super Retina XDR displays, are very good. It's at a very fast rate and doesn't bother most people, but it can bother some people. So if you're very sensitive to light or flickering lights or anything like that, you may want to consider the LCD-based display, as that will cause less eye strain over time. Now, when it comes to the cameras, the forward-facing cameras are all the same on the iPhone 12 series phones. In fact, there's zero differences at all, really, from any of the 12 series forward-facing cameras. You're really not going to notice any difference. They do 4K 60, and they all look great. And I'll show you that in a moment. Also, the phones on the left here go from worst to best. So you're going from a 7-megapixel forward-facing camera on the iPhone SE that's just okay, and it gets a little bit better as we go to the right. So let me go ahead and show you some of the video from that so you can get an idea what the forward-facing video is like. And since these are all the same, I've combined some of them. So we're only going to take a look at 4 of the phones, because these iPhone 12 series phones are identical when it comes to that. This is the forward-facing camera of the iPhone SE, the iPhone XR, the iPhone 11, and the iPhone 12 series phones. All of the iPhone 12s this year have the exact same forward-facing camera, but if you have the 12 mini and the 12, they only go up to 30 frames per second with HDR. You can do 60 on the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. So on the iPhone SE and XR, you can only do 1080p, but on the 11 and 12 series, you can do 4K. So here's the microphones from the iPhone SE, then the microphone from the iPhone XR, the microphone from the iPhone 11, and then the iPhone 12 series phones. Let me know which one you think sounds best and looks best based on what it's doing with the background and processing it with the neural engine in the comments below. Now, when it comes to the rear cameras of the phones, they're very different. Now, you'll see that the iPhone SE and the iPhone XR only have one camera lens, and these are actually very good cameras, but there's only one lens available. So if you're into something, say, an ultra-wide photo that you want a more expansive view of what you can see, then you're going to want to go with the iPhone 11 or 12 series, as they have more than one lens. As we go up to the 12 mini, the 12, and the 12 Pro, well, the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max have 3 lenses, so you get an additional telephoto zoom lens. In most cases, the telephoto doesn't really matter too much, and I'll show you that in a comparison in just a moment. But you can zoom in up to about 5x optically, punching into the sensor on the 12 Pro Max, and you get much better low light on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, as it has a larger sensor overall. Also, compared to all of these, the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max have what's called Apple Pro RAW, where you can more finely define what you want the photo to look like after you've taken it. So it's got more data in when it takes the picture. Now, when it comes to the 12 series, they have HDR video recording as well. The 12 mini and the 12 Pro both have up to 30 frames per second Dolby Vision HDR recording, where the 12 Pro Max and 12 Pro have 4K 60 HDR recording. So these are the best when it comes to video by far. They have great microphones, but you still can record 4K on the other phones as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what some of the photos look like and some of the video looks like from the back of these phones. Now, one of the things I can't show you, since this video is not recorded in HDR, is what HDR looks like compared to regular. I do have some separate HDR video, so if you want to take a look at that, what you'll notice is on an iPhone, you'll have very bright brights or very bright whites and very dark blacks. And it looks super vibrant, very close to real life, and it just looks great overall. So HDR is something that I think is not overrated, but once you've seen it, I think you'll understand, but you do need to see it first. And so HDR is a big deal, but you do need an HDR display to see it. So if you have that ability, definitely get one of the new phones that can record in HDR, as it makes a huge difference. Now, when it comes to the overall speed of the phones, there's not as big of a difference as you might think depending on the task you're doing. You've got everything from the A12 Bionic in the XR up to the A14 Bionic in the iPhone 12 series phones, and anywhere from 3 to 6 gigabytes of RAM, depending on which phone you're talking about. And each of them is very fast. If we take the slowest phone technically, which is the XR as far as the processor is concerned, and compare it with, say, the iPhone 12 Pro Max and open a game, let's see what we can do here. So if we go into a game, we've got a game here, we'll go into Minecraft, for example, and I'll show you how quickly it loads. And what I think you'll find is that it's very interesting that sometimes it loads faster on an older or slower CPU. So we'll give it just a moment to load. That's not always the case, but you will find that from time to time. So we'll give it a moment, and we'll go ahead and hit continue. Turn off the sound here, and then we'll hit continue, hit play, and then we'll wait for it just a moment. Since I haven't opened it on the XR in some time, since reinstalling, we'll hit create new world, and then we'll hit create. And you'll see that it's very fast on both. We'll give it a moment. We'll hit proceed, and you'll see that it's still fairly quick on either one. But again, let's give it a moment to continue to load. And now it's done on the 12 Pro Max. Sometimes when I run this test, it's done much faster than that, and it would already be loaded on some of the others. Sometimes it just depends on what's going on. So as you can see here, both of them are nice and fast. They're smooth when it comes to scrolling, playing games, just doing day-to-day tasks. You're not going to notice a difference when doing anything on the phone. Most of the time, it's going to be super fast, no matter what you're doing. Now, one way we can sort of test how fast it is when we put it under an intensive task is to use something like iMovie to export a 4K video. So what I'll do is I'll close all the apps that are running, and then we'll see how fast all of them can export. Now I have the same video loaded on every single one of these. I imported the video, then I added the title. That way it would have to re-render it all. And you can see here, it's 2 minutes and 58 seconds long. So what I have is this video here ready to go, and we'll export it in 4K on all of these devices, and then use this other phone to measure how fast it exports. Now this could be a little bit tricky. I'm not sure I can tap on share on all of these at the same time. And also, none of them have any other apps open. So as you can see here, they're all closed, and none of them have any apps open. So let's go ahead and share these. So now I'll go ahead and hit save video at the same time. I'll try and hit them all at the same time, or as close as I can. Let's see if we can do this, and then hit save and start. We'll save over here, and that's about as good as we can get. We're about a second off on the 12 Pro Max and maybe the SE. So I'll let them run through this. We'll see how quickly it goes, and it should be pretty good on all of them. So we'll give it just a moment here. And you can see how close that was on all of them. We expected the iPhone 12 series to finish first since they're the fastest, followed by the 11, the XR, and the SE. The SE and the 11 and XR were probably right about the same since I started it a little bit later. But I think you get the idea that they're within a second of one another doing a very intensive task. And the heat of them is going to vary a little bit too. The back of the iPhone SE is just ever so slightly warm to the touch. The iPhone XR is also a little bit warm in this area here near the processor. The iPhone 11, let's see if it's warm at all. The iPhone 11 is a little warm, but barely. And then let's take a look at the iPhone 12 mini. There's almost nothing different on the back there. The 12 maybe a little bit right here. The 12 Pro, again, right in here. And the 12 Pro Max, I don't feel any difference. So it just may be able to dissipate heat more easily. So basically, they're all going to do very intensive tasks very well. The advantage you get with the A14 Bionic CPU is really more of what it can do with the neural engine, with augmented reality, using the camera to overlay different things. You also have the LiDAR, where it can scan rooms and use that CPU to do more calculations and things like that in autofocus. So you have some advantages there, but unless you're into heavy video editing or photo editing, you're not going to see much of a difference between any of these, and they're all extremely usable. There's not really a problem there. Now, one very important aspect of getting through the day with your phone is its battery. So one thing you want to keep in mind is each phone, given its size, is going to have a different size battery in it. So the iPhone SE, for example, has the least amount of battery life at about 4 hours or so in my use. Now, I'm talking about my use in general, using all of these phones for about a week or so at any given point in time, using similar apps. So it could vary for you, but the iPhone SE, I was getting about 4 or 4.5 hours of screen on time. With the iPhone XR and the iPhone 11, about 7 to 8 hours. They're very close. The 11 is technically a little bit better, but I found them to be very similar, 7 to 8. With the iPhone 12 mini, I was only getting about 5. So it really depends on how you use it, of course. With the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro, I find they get about a half an hour difference in battery life. In fact, the 12 Pro, for example, got a half hour less for me. So about 5.5 to 6 hours with the 12, about 5 to 5.5 hours with the 12 Pro. The 12 Pro Max, about 10 to 12 hours of screen on time. So the Pro Max is going to have the best battery. It has the largest battery, and that's why it can actually last a little bit longer. So depending on the size, the mini is a great size for a lot of people, but the battery is just going to suffer a little bit from its overall size. But it's better than the SE, for example. Now, when it comes to reception, this is something that's very important as you're on the internet with it or you're placing a phone call. And the iPhone 12 series phones have Qualcomm modems, where the others have Intel modems. The Intel modems are not as good. They're not as fast because they don't have 5G, which I'll talk about in a moment. But the SE, the XR, and the 11 all have Intel modems, which many people had problems with over time with dropping calls and things like that. Apple has since switched back to Qualcomm after resolving some disputes, and now all the iPhone 12 series phones have Qualcomm modems in them. They have better connectivity, they have 5G, and 5G millimeter wave if you're in the United States. 5G can be very fast, but it also can be slow depending on your coverage. Where I live, I find that it's double the speed of 4G, but that's not true for everyone. So depending on where you live, depends on your 5G coverage overall and the quality of that 5G. I find that it's not a big deal. I wouldn't buy a phone just to have 5G. I would buy it because it's an upcoming technology, but it's not a reason to go out and run out and buy one of these. But you will have better reception, at least in my experience. I haven't dropped a single call on any of the iPhone 12 series. Now, when it comes to the speakers overall, the speakers are all about the same, but as you get to the newer phones, they seem to be a little bit louder and clearer. So they're all pretty good. No issues there. They both have stereo sound, but again, as you get to the newer phones, it's going to sound a little bit better. Now, the IP rating, or water and dust resistance, is different on all of them as well. With the iPhone SE, the iPhone XR, and the iPhone 11, you have different ratings of IP67 all the way up to IP68. So with the SE, IP67 for up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes, up to the newest 12 series phones, which all have IP68 6 meters for up to 30 minutes. So they can withstand more water intrusion. Either way, though, if you do have water damage, Apple will not cover this. So keep that in mind. That's going to affect your purchase maybe. I would put a waterproof case on it if you plan to bring it in the ocean or swimming in a pool or something along those lines. Now, every phone here has wireless charging. They all support Qi wireless charging, but the iPhone 12 series phones also support fast wireless charging with MagSafe. They have a magnet ring in the back of them that not only holds this charger in place, but allows up to 15 watts fast charging. It's It's not a super fast charger, but it is faster than if you were using a regular Qi wireless charger. There's also accessories that it works with as well, maybe magnet holders for your car that's just built into the back of it. So it's something you can use that's a little bit nice, and I think we'll see more accessories in the future. However, all of the other phones support wireless charging and support fast charging. So if you're using a regular Lightning port with them, you can charge 50% in 30 minutes on every single one of them. And then it will slow down from there and then finish charging based on the speed and the overall size of the battery. So that is all nice and fast on all of them, and all pretty much equal across the board on all of them. The wireless MagSafe is the only difference with the newer ones. And so that leads me to which one should you choose? Which one's right for you? Well, it depends on the size and budget, of course. So if you think that the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max are worth double that of, say, the iPhone XR, for example, based on the cameras being that much better and the different video options and the larger battery life, well, then go for the more expensive one. However, if you're more budget focused, then I would look toward either the SE if you really like Touch ID, or the XR or 11. Personally, I would go for the 11 at this point, seeing that it has the dual cameras in the back. Technically, it gets a little bit more battery life. Not a whole lot in my experience, but a little bit. And in general, I think it's a great phone, and all of them will get updates for years to come. Apple seemingly is giving up to about 6 years of updates at this point on some phones. So you'll be using them for years to come, at least 3 more years on pretty much all of them based off of that. So I really wouldn't worry about that. You'll have 5 to 6 years of coverage on the iPhone 12 series with iOS updates. So they're all very good phones, and hopefully this helped you decide which one would work best for you. If you're picking up a new phone, or maybe you just got one, let me know in the comments below what you decided to go with. Also, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.